Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I am back after several months away to make a YouTube video and tell you what's been going on. Oh my heavens. I'm up on Bountiful Boulevard again, and I don't want to get too personal, and if I do, I'll get too emotional and I'll start crying. But back in February, I had a second stroke, and I was in the hospital for a month. Most of that was in ICU, and I was transported from the ER hospital to in Bountiful, Lakeview Hospital, to the same day I was transferred by ambulance to UView Hospital. I was there for about 3 weeks or less, I don't know. And then I was transferred to IHC Hospital in Murray, Utah. And oh my heavens, it was quite an experience. But I don't know where to begin. I don't want to bog you down with too many details, but let's just say, different than my first stroke, this one was worse in the effects. It affected my balance to where I'm walking today with a stick or a cane, a trekking pole actually. But before I could walk fine, I think. The last stroke affected my dexterity, and this one, which slowly was coming back, and still not all the way back, but this one affected my balance, and for the longest time I couldn't walk by myself unassisted. Now I can barely walk by myself unassisted, but I'm trying to, oh my heavens. All right, so that's hold it, let me close that. Close that, yeah. So what did I want to tell you? Just about ambulance costs in America. Let me tell you about this. This time around, I had 3 ambulance rides for a total of about $10,000. Can you imagine that? And unlike my first stroke, I had it on my first floor in my house, and my sons-in-laws were able to put me in the back of their car and take me to the ER. But this time, I collapsed, or I guess you call it collapsed, in my basement bathroom, and I couldn't expect my children or anyone else to lift me up in the car to take me, so we had to call an ambulance. And it's only like a mile away, but still about $5,000 right there, okay? And then that night I was in the ER for several hours, and then we had a kind of a Zoom meeting with a neurologist, and she said, oh, you need to go to an ICU, intensive care unit, somewhere, and I guess the choices were UView or St. Mark's, and I chose UView. And they gave us no choice. My son-in-law was not able to. We said, can we drive ourselves there? No, have to be taken there. And there's another probably $3,000 or more. And then the hospital, about 3 weeks into my stay, decided they wanted a biopsy on my liver. They found a mass, which turned out to be nothing, thankfully, but they wanted me to go to IHC, and of course, no, your family can't take you, you have to go by ambulance. So like another $5,000, okay? By contrast, my daughter and her family were just fairly recently got back from Japan. Her husband has back issues on occasion, and I think think on 2 times she had occasion to call for an ambulance, and total cost, 0. You know, I'm not a social medicine kind of guy, but I could be persuaded in cases like this, in specific cases. I'm telling you, knowing what ambulances cost, I've heard so many elderly people already know what it costs. They refuse to be transported by ambulance, even when they probably should. And it puts their lives at risk, I think. And so in America, most people would, if given the choice, told how much it's going to cost, say, are you kidding? No way. So I could be persuaded to maybe have the government pay for something like that, where, you know, if you need to be transported by ambulance, free of charge, and the country picks it up for you, and our tax money pays for that. And I could be persuaded. I mean, there's a case where, you know, I am such a you know, believer in free markets, and a believer in freedom and all those things, but I could be persuaded. There's a place for, I don't know, maybe a socialization of that, a service like that. We never know when we're going to need. Can't be prepared for it. And I think it would probably save lives. Okay, that's a little off topic. And let's see, I'll try to keep this. This is my first video from being back. And anyways. Okay. I don't want to get too religious on you. But let's just say, recently I was inspired to go back and read the Old Testament, because I haven't read in years. And I was struck by the story of Joseph being sold into Egypt, the children of Israel in Egypt, Moses, that whole story from Genesis, partway through Genesis through Exodus, when the children of Israel were wandering through the desert. But I was struck at how involved God was in the details of their lives. There was nothing that seemed to be outside the scope of, you know, asking for God's help. And that's kind of how I feel. I learned that lesson with my second stroke. Let's just say, while lying in the hospital, I was in total misery, and I've never prayed like that. I just, you know, probably hours on end, just praying, kind of, you know, saying, God, help me, I need the help. You know, one little example of that. When I was transferred to the UView hospital, they did immediately, I think it was a CT scan, and they found kind of the place of my stroke. And it was in a place that they were worried about swelling. And if there was any swelling, they were going to have to go in and operate and relieve the pressure that it would put on my brain. And so they were toying with the idea. So they were giving me salt pills, of all things. I was gagging these things down, and they would not. It seemed like a week, but I think my family said, oh, it was only 3 days. But it may have been more than that. It felt like a month, but I could not eat, and other than these, you know, salt pills or whatever, I could not eat anything. I could not drink anything. No ice. And I was about to go postal. I was just about to come out of my skin. And come to find out, who has the power in the hospital for this? I asked every doctor that came in my room. I asked every nurse that came in my room, what's it going to take for me to get to be able to eat and drink again? And early on they said, oh, you're a speech therapist. What? Has to approve you for like your swallowing ability. And okay, when's she going to be in? Day 1, doesn't come in. Day 2, never comes in. Finally, she gets there. I think it was day 3 or 4. But oh my heavens, it was a blessing, because she put this thick barium that is radioactive or something. They can easily monitor your swallowing process and see if you are able to swallow. And she put this thick barium, which looked like cheese or maybe a thick white paint, and she put it on a like a Ritz cracker, and I had to choke that thing down. And then she was taking pictures of me, x-rays or whatever you call it, filming what that looked like going down, right? And finally she gave me approval I was able to swallow enough, finally able to approve me for drink and water and ice cubes. And right then and there, at that machine, she gave me some applesauce. And I'm telling you, I have never been so thankful for applesauce. It was the best applesauce I've ever tasted. It was just, I was almost in tears. It was so, such a blessing to be able to eat again. Anyways, and then finally one more story. So, after being in the ICU, I felt like I was a pincushion. Every 15 minutes, they were poking me, giving me pills, doing this, taking me to scan, wheeling me around, coming in for physical or occupational therapy. And I came to almost see them as prison wardens. I felt like I was in prison. Okay, and I didn't hold it against them because I know they're just doing their job, but oh my heavens, I was at my rope's end. But anyways, a month later, when it came for my time for my what do they call it? What do they call it? Checking out from the hospital. What do they call it? Checking. I can't think of the word, but anyways, the one doctor said, "Okay, Mark, at our hospital, when we check patients out, we blast over the loudspeakers through the halls one of their favorite songs." I said, "Do you have a song that you would like us to play?" And I couldn't think of any specific song, but I said, make it a James Taylor song. James Taylor was my hero and my inspiration for guitar playing ever since I was a kid. And when he came and played with the Tabernacle Choir a few years ago, I was there at the thing, and I was in tears because it just touched me. And he was singing with the choir, James Taylor, my hero. Okay, so when it comes time for checkout, I had no idea what song he was going to pick, but he chose "How Sweet It Is to Be Loved by You," and those lyrics just touched me so much. I was in tears going down there, wheeling me down the hallway, and I was in tears saying goodbye to everybody. And they, while I didn't like half the time what they were doing to me, I appreciated their dedication to their job, and they're just, oh my heavens, they're just, oh my heavens, it just touched me. But anyway, so, and then, what time, how many minutes is that? I can't see. Oh, 10 minutes. Do I have time for one more story? Well, anyways, there's something special about the Old Testament. It's just very short verses, cuts to the chase, gets right to the heart of the matter, and I'd be curious as to what your takes would be if you go back and look at those stories. There's great Old Testament stories. I mean, God was just heavily involved in the details of their life, and I submit that it is still the same. I felt so blessed. Oh my heavens, neighbors, church members, family members, bringing me food. Okay, I'll close with this. When I was discharged, that's the word I was looking for, discharged from the hospital, I had my wife, she brought me so many things while I was in the hospital, because towards the end I couldn't eat the hospital food. I couldn't gag it down. I was choking it down. I was getting nauseous, and for it seemed like 10 days. But oh my heavens, when she would bring some home cooked something, or like a fruit salad or something, it would just mean so much to me. But right out of the hospital, we drove directly to Sage Market in Salt Lake City, which is a Japanese market, and got a sukiyaki donburi, like a sukiyaki bowl. And there's not a lot of meat in it. It's not that great of a sukiyaki, but oh my heavens, it just tasted so good. Oh, and then a couple days after I was discharged, my wife got a call from a church member. A call from a church member says, "Oh, I've made a meal for you, but can you?" We were going to be in Salt Lake City anyway, so can I hand it off to you in Salt Lake? It's closer for both of us. And then, oh my heavens, it was just so darn good. And then one last thing. Maybe it's not one, several sisters probably made it, but one brought it with her daughter to me in the hospital, a senbazuru, 1,000 paper cranes, a string of 1,000 paper cranes. It's what the Japanese do when a lot of times when they visit the sick. Rather than, say something, empty, "Oh, what can we do for you?" Or, "We're praying for you." No. They put their money where their mouth is. And can you imagine? Usually to get 1,000 cranes folded, you need to get the assistance of a lot of people. And that chain of 1,000 cranes just so meant so much to me. And everyone that came in, nurse, therapist, doctor, saw this hanging on the wall, and they all mentioned that. "What is that? What is that? What is that?" And I explained with pride, and say that my fellow church members brought this to me. It just meant so much. But anyways, life is good. I'm on the mend slowly. I was swimming in hospital bills, but that's starting to resolve itself, or not resolve itself, but starting to get some resolution there, and oh my heavens. So that is 12 minutes, coming up on 13 minutes. I'll leave it there. That's be my first video coming back from the hospital. Thank you. Bye-bye.